jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show.
That's very particular,
Yeah.
man. Damn. Okay.
that's the mental picture I get. Hopefully not everyone else gets that same mental picture. Probably when you hear me, you think 10, not 9 pantsless screaming children.
I would hope none of them are pantless, actually.
Well, since we're doing Wishmaster, I'm thinking,
Make your wishes.
We're going to wish for pants.
well, I was going to say, I'm thinking more like, 10 Tiger States.
Oh, damn. Is this an episode of Tiger King? Please tell me no.
No, Law & Order SVU ruined Wishmaster for me because Andrew Divoff started
God damn it. You can't let that episode go.
It's one of the craziest, most batshit episodes they ever did, and I love it.
That
I
was
guess.
crazy.
I mean,
When
shit.
like the,
Hashtag monkeys and basketballs.
and they're like eating tigers, and yeah, that was a crazy one. Using their bones for chopsticks or some crazy shit.
It's a thing,
Yeah, right.
I think. I don't know.
Even can swallow a tongue full of gold.
Okay, so rounding off the cast and crew here today, it is Erica Wright of My Horrific Life and Andrew Divoff, spokesperson. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I've been better. Daniel, Nightmare Nerd Ryan.
Greetings, horror fanatics.
Woo! And Cinema Drunk and Action Drunk, Robb and Takora.
Hi.
And hostess with some of the mostest, Cam Sully here, and we're going to talk about a cult 4-movie phenomenon, question mark.
Yeah.
As we wish. It is Wishmaster, which was a big cult hit for Lionsgate back when they were live, Artisan Entertainment. Long story short, one theatrical movie, one HBO world premiere, and then 2 direct-to-video SyFy Channel favorites. So, how did you get into this, Erica, before... were you already a horror gal and you just kind of came across this? It was like,
so yeah, long ass story. Back in the 1990s, when I was like still a teenager, and then finally allowed by my very conservative parents to start watching horror movies. Yeah, woohoo! I started reading Fangoria, and some of the 1997 issues covered Wishmaster extensively.
Better.
And, like
It was the
the
90s.
full color, and they had recently gone to full color format. So some of the pictures they had were like really great nightmare fuel. And I'm like, I am so excited for this movie. This is going to be great. And seemed like this whole monkey's paw kind of thing, because I was already a fan of classic horror literature. And it's
yeah,
like,
it's true.
It's gonna, be twisted and, mess up your life in some way you didn't intend when you made that wish. So that's kind of what thought it would be when I saw these pictures, and my mind kind of constructed the movie before I saw the movie. So maybe I won't spoil from that what I actually thought of the movie when I saw it.
Well, that's fine. Well, and we'll get to it soon.
Right,
But
we'll get to it. But yeah, that's how I was first aware of it. And they had a little blurb about Andrew Divoff, and that at the time he spoke 8 languages fluently, or 8 or 9 languages. And I was like, man, that is really freaking cool.
so he's legit, people. He's legit.
Yeah. So it's like he's got skills
He
beyond
may not
just,
speak Egyptian, but he speaks enough for you to interpret.
Yeah, he doesn't Arabic or Persian or those Middle Eastern languages that the jinn would speak, but it's like, man, this guy's like super intelligent. This is cool. So I was like a fan of Andrew Divoff just because of what I read about him for Wishmaster, even before I saw the film.
Nice. Okay, and Daniel, how did you come across this thing that wasn't Leprechaun or Waxwork?
Well, actually, I vaguely remember when this was actually out in theaters back in the 90s. In my
Okay.
It was I was just starting to really get into horror movies. A friend of mine in high school, he was huge into them. Actually, this might have been junior high when this came out. But
wow.
I mean, this was one of those fun mishmash movies that was going on, like Scream or Urban Legend, in that you had Wes Craven. You had Angus Scrimm as the opening narrator.
Yes.
You had, Divoff. So there was all these fun. Robert Englund did this one too, in fact, I believe.
Tony Todd.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, I never really got into the Wishmaster franchise as a whole, but like the whole theme of I had never heard of a djinn before this, I will admit, but that whole theme, be careful what you wish for, that was nothing new to me. I'd read the Monkey's Paw and seen any number of adaptations of it, so.
Damn.
But
Okay.
it's creative. I give it at least that much. But in my opinion, this is a really corny movie.
Yeah. Okay. And Rob, where did you come across this one? Was that the video store or in the theater?
No, I remember it being on when it was coming out in theaters, and I'm really wanting to see it and being bummed because
oh, that's right. You couldn't see it. There was someone's birthday or something, and it was a really waste of time. It was like my cousin Eric, it was his birthday party, and I was kind of forced to go to that. And I love my cousin Eric, but like, dude, I want to see Wishmaster. Come on, man. And I mean, yeah, it was just like, and I remember like one of the parents who came to pick up the kids was like, "Oh, my son saw it, and he didn't think it was that scary." He's like, "I don't give a fuck what he thinks, man. I want to see it on my own." And because I mean, I wasn't really privy to it being scary. I just wanted to see lots of blood and gore. Obviously, this movie delivered the blood and gore in spades. So yeah, that was my introduction to it, and I was really hyped to see it all day. And it was like, "No, you got to go to your cousin's birthday party." I'm like, this is bullshit, man. I gotta say, the trailers.
You wish to see Wishmaster.
As you wish. Yeah, I gotta say, I really don't like the trailers for a lot of these. They're just very stupid. Like the best one has to be easily for the whole Lionsgate Vestron Collector's Edition Blu-ray that came out like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because that was a labor of love, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And I've got it autographed by all the cast. Woo-hoo.
Woo!
And Robert Kurtzman, I think, also.
Kurtzman, nice. Okay, yeah. So this my introduction was movie number 2, Erica's favorite in the saga. It was one of those. It was airing on there, and I just see parts of the prison scene. I was like, I know I've seen this guy before. I put the dots again later. It's like, okay, another 48 Hours. That's right. Toy Soldiers, Air Force One. Okay, cool. I've seen Divoff before, but it was even weirder because it's like, this is very wacky. What is this? Is this one of the Leprechaun movies? No. Is this an X-Files episode? Because it's kind of shot like one, but it's like, no, it's a fucking movie. And then I was, and then I put the dots together because they would rerun it with the 3 and 4, and was like, okay, that's the one I keep seeing the cover of with the half-naked gal and the evil-looking genie. Okay, yeah, okay. But Only partially did I see like part of the first one. They really didn't air it that much, except very late at night, and it's just because of the opening, slaughter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I reintroduced myself to it when I was getting into B movies in college, and so then yeah, I'm trying not to repeat myself too much here because I know I've talked about it before, but yeah, it was just one of those like, okay, this is just fun escapism. So I credit it with getting me into horror more and more. Like I was already just watching casual stuff like Poltergeist and serial killer movies that had both crime and horror elements, but that was it. I didn't watch every single movie back to back. I just would watch parts of everything. And same thing with sci-fi, nothing against it, but I didn't really go too much out of it. I just would always hear about various stuff and like only watch particular blockbusters. It's like on TV and be like, yeah, that's got cool science, not much of a plot. And it's like, and this one, pretty much, it was just one of those is like, I don't know why, I'm going to always like it. But as I've re-seen it a few different times, I understand the appeal. It is it's kind of just its own unique thing. Yes, if you want to,
Very original for a horror movie.
well, that's exactly everything you need. And if you want to be nitpick and go, oh, it owes so much to everything else, yes, it does. But I think you can get off your high horse and not be all. I mean, for fuck's sake, Wes Craven put his name on it. It can't be just a Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff. I mean, something's got to give when you're gonna make that comparison. If they put their name on it, it's clearly not just that.
Right.
So, movie one, it's been compared to Candyman, some of the Hellraisers, which ironically it shares one of the screenwriters, Peter Atkins, movies 2 for 4, and I've seen other people compare movie 1 and 3 to Warlock, and I think that's valid.
Isn't Michael DeLuca also involved in the script, or am I tripping on that?
I think he was on one of the Shitfest sequels.
Okay, I should double check. But I mean, he did write, the screenplay for one of my favorite movies, In the Mouth of Madness. I'm going to pull up IMDb and double check. But
it does have similarities to it. It is kind of a more just kind of laid back. It's like a greatest hits of John Carpenter and Joe Dante kind of. I always got a Gremlins take from it.
Yeah, I could see that. And
Just
also
the whole
that
shit hitting the fan.
That first movie had so many rewrites, though, that, I mean...
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that on the commentary?
I think it is in the commentary, but I also read it and heard it directly from Andrew that there were a lot of script revisions before the thing was filmed.
Okay.
And also, it does also play into one of my main critiques of the film, which I guess we can get into if you want me to wait a little bit before I get into that. But
let's just, since we're all pretty limited to 40 minutes on this Zoom call, let's just quickly list the pros and cons, just a paragraph. And
so I guess when I first saw it, it's a really fun movie to see on the big screen, because I was probably maybe one of the few people to be able to see it in the theatrical release.
Nice.
But honestly, like, Tammy Lord's performance really put me off in a big way. And later, when I was at a Horror Hound convention and she was there with other Wishmaster cast members,
it was very rude.
Found out that basically when she seemed really over the top and she was freaking out and doing the bug-eyed screaming thing because she was having visions of people being killed by the djinn, when they filmed that, Robert Kurtzman didn't tell her what she was supposed to be screaming about. He just said, you need to freak out more. You need to scream more, or whatever. It seemed like the script wasn't finalized at that time, so she did this very over-the-top reaction to something that she didn't even know what she was supposed to be reacting to.
Gotcha.
So that kind of addressed, like, one of my issues as far as cast performances that I had when I saw it. And now that makes sense, but if you're just watching, you'll know that backstory. It's like, man, that's like really over the top.
That's fair. I just have never really picked up on it just because the whole thing is just over the top. Other cast members in this that don't get mentioned enough is Kane Hodder as the security guard,
Yes.
Rico Ross from Aliens as the lieutenant detective, and then there's Jack Lemmon's son Chris as Nick, the friend.
Yeah.
And there's
also Ted Raimi too as a small part as the
Ted
guy.
Raimi and Tom Savini's the guy at the pharmacy for 5 seconds, but it's even funny because it's
Or-
like he kept taking it off his resume, and then
Or
it's
was
like,
that
why are you
Reggie
taking-
Bannister was Tom Savini also there? I didn't know this. Because I know
yeah.
Reggie Bannister is the pharmacist.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's there. It's just Savini's just like briefly when you see the guy's point of view when he's holding him up, he's like, "Wait, come to."
Yeah, I see. Okay, yeah.
And Rhodes from Day of the Dead is like at the dock where Ted Raimi gets killed, I think. So
yeah, he's the one who drops the fucking the crate on for Ted Raimi.
Thanks, Rhodes.
Thanks a lot.
Well, there you go. Maybe he survived Day of the Dead, really, and so yeah, he became a dock worker.
Yeah, yeah,
Unless this is a prequel, I don't know. Was
yeah.
he
But
killing dock workers before he became a jarhead killing?
yeah, and then,
I don't know.
then he got really wasted, and just now he's half the man he used to be.
Oh dear.
That's,
Oh fucking dear. So out of 5 stars, what would you rate it? Just like 3.5, 2, maybe 4? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I tend to think on like a more 10-star rating, but I guess out of 5 stars, I would give the first one 3
Okay. Perfect.
out of 5. Like, there's a lot of things I do enjoy about it. Like, I like the way that people's wishes, turn sour, twisted, and you can tell that the director's main experience is in special effects because he loves to showcase that.
Oh, yeah.
On the downside, I feel like some of the performances are a little off and the pacing is off, and also I feel like the film is too brightly lit.
Oh, good.
It needed a little more.
So there's some tech specs that stick out like a sore thumb for you.
Like it seems to be very brightly lit most of the film, and that shows off the special effects, but it doesn't really create the right mood, in my opinion. So
it's all good. Now, Rob, I'll circle around to you. 3 out of 5.
I'll go 1 up, and I'll go solid 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay.
This one is this one I have a lot of fun with it. It's very gore heavy. I love the gore. Robert Kurtzman, I think, did a fine job putting this one together, and K&B did an excellent job. You know how I feel about that one. Their work on the gore effects, and it's a solid 4 out of 5 for me.
Okay, perfect. Daniel, I don't know how many times you've seen it, but yeah, if you had to just rate it now.
I'll agree about a 4 out of 5. I mean, I love the originality because I'd never even heard of a djinn before this, so that's a slasher villain we had not seen. Yeah, it delivers on the gore delightfully. With the perspective of time, I look at it, and some of the effects that they use just have not held this test of time very good at all. I mean, the makeup on Divoff still looks badass, but
You're talking more like the aging effects or the CGI.
Yeah, like the skeleton that pulls itself out of the guy's spinal column, like that is so blatantly, it looks like something out of the Muppets.
No, that's fine.
I kind of have that issue. I love Kane Hodder's death scene. I hear you that like the CGI I don't think has aged well, just in my opinion. Sorry to interrupt you, Daniel.
No, it's fine.
And and it's got some brilliant one-liners, but they're very often delivered with a sense where I get the impression the actors either just weren't taking it serious or maybe they were drunk.
That's a good point. I do think there's well, fuck, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
Basically, I think I just like how this whole thing just kind of plays off like a Terminator movie, or just in general, just shit hitting the fan, stuff going to hell. And I mean, yeah, you had Waxworth where you had just, statues coming to life, and I've already been a fan of just other stuff later on, like the 90s 2000s version of the Mummy, and so I liked a lot of Egyptian stuff, but this really got me really back into it all of a sudden. It was like, oh, I want to, I wouldn't really see much about it except when I was in history class, but it's like, okay, yeah, I really do kind of like how they're not even going to the taboo or the historical nature of Egyptian. They're just going to the folklore and the fantasy aspect of it. And I recommend this highly to anyone, even if you're not the biggest sci-fi horror guy or fantasy guy, even for that matter. I think everyone should watch this just because the dark comedy is there, and it's very exciting near the end when, the party's going to shit. And I just liked how it just pretty much went all balls out. Now, yeah, everybody, if you want to really look closely at it, it looks half the time like they are looking at green screens or cue cards, especially at the basketball high school game. People have noted before how, and this is just speculation, I don't know anything, and I have not seen the Blu-ray. I've just seen it in HD, on all the movie channels because they show it nonstop once a year. Yeah, I've had other friends, I've introduced them to it, and they've kind of had the same kind of impressions. They liked it. They just would laugh. But here's the irony. They would laugh both intentionally and unintentionally at it. That was what was weird about it. It was like, so it was kind of a Ghoulies or Night of the Demons kind of feel, where it's like there's plenty to like, there's also plenty to like, but not necessarily because it was intended that way, and it didn't have anything to do with the acting. They just would look at the CGI when his head is shrinking, and they would be like, yeah, okay, what the fuck is this shit? Vern Troyer, late Vern Troyer, is the mini me Wishmaster when he comes out of that diamond in the rough, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's the fetal djinn, so to speak.
Yeah, I have missed the Pazuzu statue. I hope that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each time I've missed it. Each time I've seen the movie, but everyone always talks about that. People have talked about how there's a few episodes of The Twilight Zone which bear resemblance to this. I don't doubt it, because that's pretty much everybody saw that show. So,
Yep.
I'm also nitpicky, but this pretty much is just one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But it's definitely a 4 out of 5. It's one of the highest grossing independent movies of '97, and that was a big year not only for effects but also for good movies. And I really do wish that this and Event Horizon and even other films from that year just got a little more love. But yeah, I do like how you had kind of a Linda Hamilton kind of protagonist, and just that it was just it just welcomed just this escapism and just this wackiness. And I do think it's better than Leprechaun. I showed it to my brother. He thought it was fucking stupid.
Not hard to do.
And yeah, it is hard to do. Because just all the comedic bits are just very well timed, and there's just a few other Easter eggs you don't see right away. And sometimes you have to just rewatch it because it's like, not only is it just an outrageous death, but just all the work that went into it. And then it's like, oh, I didn't hear that part of the joke. It's like a 5-part joke in each scene. Yeah. And I could quote Tony Todd's the valet character, the bodyguard, where he's going, "It's Valentine, John Valentine."
Yeah. Do you want to escape?
Yeah. Oh my god. And yeah, I've gone as the djinn for I haven't gone for Halloween, but just at a cosplay, and no one knows who the fuck I was playing except like one guy who was dressed as a Sith Lord for Star Wars. So I do think it is much like Waxworth in a way. Is like some people have seen it at one point, but just not enough. Most people have just seen like the first 5 better known horror franchises. I've kind of ranked this up there with The Prophecy with Chris Walken. It's just one of those, it needs a little more love.
Yeah, I love the Prophecy movies, actually.
Yeah.
But a lot of stories.
Wishmaster is kind of just one of those, I see its influence in other kind of hellish franchises, like the movie versions of Hellboy and Constantine. Even, in fact, Lucifer is easily the best counterpart to this.
I can actually see that.
I have not really watched much of that show.
Yeah, you can binge watch it on Netflix. I haven't even gone through it all, but each time I watch it, it's just a pleasant ride. You know how it's going to end. You take it away, it's basically a cop show. or a kidnapping thriller. But what makes it work is just like, again, just the naughty fun. It's just welcome.
Yeah.
And this is what this movie gets down to a T. It's like, you ever had some naughty thoughts you shouldn't think? Well, here they are. Here's some mischief. And I don't mean naughty in that it's perverted. I mean naughty in that it's like, I wonder what would happen if you gave someone too much power as a wish. And I like how just from the get-go, everyone's like, that this movie has enough obstacles to keep, he always targets the idiots, or they establish right up, he's an immortal, so he can't fucking die. You can wish him to kill himself, it's not going to work. So and I know other people, much like Usual Suspects, if you introduce it to them now, they've seen enough movies, especially ones that ripped it off. They're like, oh, I already know who Keezer Soze is in the first narration. But I've had people do that too, just be nitpicky and be like, oh, I could have told you to wish himself back in the lamp. But I like how it's just, if you're a nitpicker, yeah, this isn't for you. But if you're just someone who just likes a wacky, deliberately wacky, mind you.
It's very wacky. So when you mentioned the Twilight Zone, there is a line directly quoted from a Twilight Zone episode where the Jin tapped on the final girl's, what is her name? The character's name in this? I don't know why I'm blanking out. But Tammy Lauren's character, but he taps on the window.
Alexandra, come on now. Alexandra.
Where he says, going my way? That's like a quote from that Hitchhiker episode.
Yeah, yes.
It's so sick, though, but unless you've seen that episode, that whole line seems stupid is the problem. It's like, what the heck? Yeah, and then that other thing where he like calls her on the phone and she hangs up and yells, "Fuck you!" That's also
yes.
Like,
you piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, I do like the rotating shot, because that's the other thing this movie does pretty down to a T, is just have it move around, have the scene start off shocking. So I'll say this: it may not be scary unless you're like 5, but it's freaky and it's just kind of all over the top. And because the dark comedy is working so well and you're looking forward to the bloodshed, I mean, that's the other thing I saw people say too, is just like, they're so against bloodshed. It's like, that's the point of the movie. It was in the very first scene. Come on. Don't tell me, it's just a mindless bloodshed. Well, I don't know about mindless in your opinion, but it's definitely meant to be bloodshed. So I don't know how you could just, I don't know.
One thing I find funny that I read, or maybe it was on one of the commentaries, but apparently the Major Motion Picture Association did not have problems with, the gore very much.
That's wild.
Yeah, they had a little bit.
They would have a problem.
Yeah, they did require that a little bit be trimmed off of that. I think that scene where that suspect shot to death by the police.
That's true. He fucking rips someone's jaw.
Yeah, that's like over the top. But the thing they had the most issue was the fact that almost all the characters are smoking. Like the Jin smokes.
Oh my god.
Tammy Lauren's character smokes.
That's what I never understood either.
The sister smokes. Like everyone fucking smokes in the thing.
You can show it on primetime TV, but you can't show it in a movie a certain number of times.
Right. So for some reason, they had more objection to the fact that so many characters smoke in this film than the actual gore in the death scene. So that was kind of funny to me.
That is wild. Jax Hatik, he shot these first 2 movies as well as Nightmare 1 and 2, and he's better known as just one of the best low-budget guys that makes a movie bigger than it actually is. And I definitely think he is to honor for this, because he's worked with Wes Craven and Jack Shoulder. He's done other movies like The Lost Empire for Jim Wynorski of all people, The Hidden, Cage from '89, the Red Brown classic, Maniac Cop Free, Scanner Cop, Rob's favorite, and a later known Mark L. Lester's Blowback, which is a wacky fantasy serial killer movie, and another Devoff movie that's rather similar to this called Faust, Love of the Damned.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Underrated, I think.
Yeah, so definitely underrated cinematographer. Yeah, and now that I think about it, that was definitely the first thing I saw Devoff in. It's
Mm.
just, and what's funny is I would always see the final 10 minutes of that movie.
Wow.
Yeah, well,
Nice.
and that's
You
the best
came
part
in-
where all the shit's hitting the fan, and
Yeah, you came in on the orgy scene.
Yeah.
although that's the thing, they don't show that on the SyFy Channel version.
Oh,
You know what he's
okay.
doing? He's making it advanced, and it's like you fill in the blanks. That's technically rape, but it's like, yeah, I just saw the snake and some other wacky stuff. I saw a lot of stuff just on TV, and so there's no telling if they even have that in the vault still.
Interesting.
So going on to movie number 2, and
Yeah.
this was an HBO world premiere. It shows these and the sequels show nonstop on Sci-Fi and Showtime throughout the 2000s. They would do marathons. And so, yeah, once again, the Jinn has been defeated, but he found a way to come back. And so after some shoddy
nice.
slow motion, once again, you got Devoff returning in the role, and he's just got to go and pick on some petty thieves and cause some utter mayhem. But first, he's got to be sent to prison.
I thought that was original. That he spends a nice portion of the movie in prison. You know.
Absolutely.
I thought that was cool. You know?
Yeah, this is already, here's the thing. This is over the top, but I don't consider it as lowbrow as all the other stuff, especially like Leprechaun. Because, I mean, Leprechaun knows it's pretty stupid,
Yeah.
and that's the appeal, is people either like it because
By
it's,
the third one, they'd embrace that. Yeah.
oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
either stupid or it's so bad it's good, or it's just wacky. But this one,
Well,
even though
yeah.
there's some forced music and everything and bizarre edits that are common of direct-to-video made-for-TV era,
Mhm.
I think it's still it's doing some serious work, actually churning out, making sure there's as decent a job with a different makeup artist, and I actually own the soundtrack somewhere in my car.
no. That's awesome.
It was not easy to find. Yeah, what was everyone's first impression on these with their rating and overall review?
Oh my god, I don't even know where to begin with this, but I actually like the second one better than the first one, and I recognize that from a critical standpoint, it's not, considered as good as the first movie, but for me, it was just freaking hilarious. Like, there were just some scenes.
I wish you would go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I was just irrationally laughing my butt off with a lot of this movie, especially the prison stuff. And I don't know, I enjoyed it more than the first one, even though they didn't have all the great cameo appearances and they didn't have special effects on the same level.
And I think that's
I
the
really
best part about this. They have some
enjoyed-
other B-movie guys who have worked with ironically have worked with director Jack Shoulder on that little-known cop movie called Renegades. So yeah, you got Robert Lasardo as the prisoner. You got Tommy Lister. It's cool to see him as a good guy for once, as the
and
prison guard who's like, "Who's this guy?"
that friend who's the guy who kind of becomes the friend of the Jinn, and then in prison and then gets abandoned later.
Yeah, and I like how Holly
was like-
Field's the
he
heroine
was
in
like
this.
super. Yeah, he was like a really famous actor in Soviet Russia before.
Are you talking Elia Volok?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
who started with
Okay.
Devoff the same year, and Air Force One is one of the terrorists. Fun fact.
So, so there's like a lot. There's still really cool things with this movie. Before I get into other stuff that I like or dislike about the movie, I want to mention, has everyone heard about the scene that Andrew Devoff would not film?
No, and you're his spokesperson, so I mean,
Well, maybe not spokesperson, but
I'm
I
just
do
joking.
work for
I'm
his
razzing.
brewery. Yeah, I'm not like his agent or anything. But
No, I'm not
I feel like-
saying. But you can at least say legit, not legit.
Yeah. So there was a particular scene. So it was like where his originally
As you wish,
his prison
director.
in the script, his prison buddy, the Russian gangster guy, was supposed to make this nonsensical wish of, it'd be great if you just like piss on everyone in the prison yard.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So
Boy.
it gets worse. Where then-
That's a
then
bad
it, like,
idea.
transforms into the Jinn form of itself, and like opens some mystery fly somewhere in his costume and like sprays everyone down with this fire hose level stream of urine.
Fuck.
That's what was in the script. And Andrew read the script and he was like, you know, Jack, I think this could be done a little differently. And he was like just kind of hemming and hawing about it. And eventually Jack Shoulder's like, so Andrew, you're saying you're not going to, you know, act in the scene the way it's written. He's like, yeah, that is what I'm saying. So that's how it became this like other sequence where you know, the guard harasses him and says, yeah, I'd wish for, you know, a Compton dance with you, or whatever that is that he says. I want to dance with you in the Moonlight Compton style. What that whole line.
What the fuck? Okay.
Yeah, so but that's what that was the substitute for the peeing on everyone scene in the original script.
Yeah, it is very bizarre how basically Jack didn't like the original movie. He said that in an interview, and yet he decided, a lot of people have said this is one of your better movies during your direct-to-video phase, and yet it's just so weird how basically he, for lack of a better word, just didn't, he got hired to do it, so he did it, but
also with Jack Shoulder, what is it with him and him unintentionally making sequels gay? When they
yeah, just him going, I didn't detect it. It's like, is there just something you want to tell us, buddy?
All right, it's more subtle in Wishmaster 2 than it was in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, but there's still a subtext in that, you know, between the Wishmaster and the prison friend that he makes. They seem to have a very close relationship that seems to go deeper than being buddies, but whatever. I don't know what's with him, and he just inserts this subtext into a lot of his films, but doesn't seem to know that he's doing it.
Yeah, it's just
there's
like,
that.
Okay, if you want to go there, you can, but don't go, oh, I didn't intend that. And it's like, are you not in the editing room?
Right. It's like you didn't read the screenplay. You weren't part of editing this. Like, I don't know.
The sad thing is a lot of directors really aren't in TV villains, so it's just like, or if it's a higher job, they don't give a fuck. They're just like, yeah, it's not mine, really.
Right. But it is interesting. Like Jack Shoulder just seems to have a pattern of that, but
just doesn't detect it, and I'm like,
I'm
okay.
not mad about it at all. It's
no, we're not being homophobes. Just to be clear, we're just saying
it's just interesting when it seems to be unintentional or unaware that subtext is there, and then you ask him about it, it's like, I didn't think there was a gay subtext. It's like, dude. Especially Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Like, how do you not notice that there is a gay subtext? Even overt text in this movie.
Quote Pee Wee Herman, connect the dots, la 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 la.
Right?
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new Podcast Cure-All? Sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed, and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Hey, I heard you like movies.
I heard you like to hustle.
I heard you like podcasts.
Well, guess what?
There's a podcast for you out there called The Home Video Hustle.
Damn right.
Every Friday, we talk about whatever movie PJ picks out the bag. What does that mean? Every Wednesday on our YouTube page, I put a bunch of movies in a bag, and PJ picks one out at random. And then we just watch it. We talk about it for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we feel like doing, wherever the conversation leads us.
But do we actually talk about the movie?
Most of the time.
Ah.
Tangents galore.
Yes.
So believe me, we may be a movie podcast, but it's not always about movies. We might talk about video games,
Music.
Yeah, that's the big one, music. Sometimes we might get a little bit of politicalness in there.
Yes.
Sometimes we may just, we know what we like to do. We like to tell stories, PJ.
Yes.
I am the master storyteller of the podcast realm. Undefeated. So if you like to hear about movies, video games, whatever foolishness comes to our mind, the most random stuff you could think of, check out the Home Video Hustle. You can find us on the Stitchers, the Google Play, Apple Podcasts,
What else?
Podbean,
What else?
Podcast Addict,
Goddamn.
all that. Ain't no reason you can't get your hustle on. We everywhere, worldwide, baby.
Hustle, motherfucking hustle.
Hey, we can't cuss in the promo, PJ. We
Ah.
gotta be family friendly. There may be podcasts out there that don't want us here to say
Ah. Ah.
all
Yeah.
that good fun stuff.
Well, you.
Yeah. don't run the listeners away, PJ.
Ah, I'm sorry.
But this is going kind of long.
Yes.
So we'll go end this and say, hey, check out the Home Video Hustle every Friday on all the various podcast outlets. Peace.
Peace.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. And while Witch didn't make it to the top of the world, he did make the Gangs of Hollywood podcast. So join the gang and enjoy a movie review podcast about movie gangs, gangsters, mobsters, and the mayhem they cause. You can find GOH Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GOH Pod at www.gohpod.com, as well as your favorite podcast listening app. And remember, say hello to your little friend for me.
If you take two old punk rockers who are past their prime, put them in front of a movie screen and give them a podcast, what do you get? Cinema Punks. Cinepunks. It's the mixtape of movies.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of it.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history
up.
doll popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was.
How
gonna be
did
a
you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Skinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
It's time, let's check our cue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. Whether one last plot holes or gratuitous movies, it's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy at eilfm.podbean.com.
Welcome to Who Was She podcast. I am your host, Tara Jabari. After a decade working in documentaries, marketing, and all things digital media, I found that podcasting is a strong medium to share stories. After years of producing for others, I decided to start my own biographical podcast. Who Was She will focus on the life of a woman throughout Baha'i history. The first season is about Lydia Zamenhof. Lydia's story explores the subjects of the power of language and faith. Her father invented the universal language Esperanto, and she came from a Jewish family and became a Baha'i. She grew up during World War I and was killed during World War II in a concentration camp, despite heroic efforts to save her life. How can one person's life intersect with so many others, connect across borders, and inspire a biography which inspired this podcast? Over the next few weeks, I will share her story with you and the lives that were most affected by her and those who affected her life as well. They include her father, Ludwig Zamenhof, her spiritual mother, American journalist Martha Root, and the Baha'i German soldier Fritz Mako, who worked for the resistance undercover while having to serve the Nazi Party. I want to thank the author Wendy Heller and George Ronald Publishing for their blessing to let me use Heller's biography, Lydia, The Life of Lydia Zamenhof, Daughter of Esperanto, as a main and instrumental resource for this podcast. So please subscribe and learn about this amazing woman who traveled through 3 continents in an effort to bring unity through the power of language. You can also find more information on our Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Who Was She Podcast. Music was composed and performed by Sam Red. I am your host, Tara Jabari. Join us next time as we begin our journey about Lydia Zamenhof.
Hi everybody, it's Mac Jackson. I wanted to invite you to a new site called the Forever Adventure Network. This website has everything. Pictures, videos, blogs. There's original music by Harmony Constant, 2 podcasts. One is the MacGyver podcast, where we celebrate Richard Dean Anderson, his iconic roles, and how it's influenced our lives. There's episode discussions, interviews, and life conversations. The second podcast is the Never Gets Old podcast, where we celebrate all the best things that we love in life, from TV, movies, music, and comics. The site is also the home for the MacGyver SG-1 audio series, an ongoing adventure series that continues the adventures of MacGyver and SG-1. There are also multiple stores to choose from for all of your pop culture and adventure needs. Come on by and check us out today. And thanks for joining the adventure.
Are you sick of the same old stale podcasts? Well, then join Vanessa and Darren as they dissect movies of all kinds. The 2 lifelong cinema lovers bring their favorites, curiosities, and first-time watches to the operating table and inject them with a healthy dose of snark. Then there's the waiting room, where they examine books and short stories. So just look for them on Apple Podcasts and where fine podcasts are available. They're part of the Legion Podcast Network. Follow them on Twitter at VD Clinic Pod. Join them on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/VD Clinic Pod, or email them at vdclinicpod@gmail.com. They're ready to cure what ails you. And still, they just might be a little contagious.
We now continue with our program.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So why do I use this, you ask? Because each time I try to get Johnny Batoki on Skype, he gets kicked off. And
Really?
there's a
How come?
That's what that's what literally we have tried it 5 different times. He doesn't know if it's my connection to his connection or what. It's like he's like in a suburb area or something, but it's like I shouldn't be making any difference, trees or anything. So it's like, okay, that's weird. And it took us one time to 3 times to just record one damn get together. And so
Wow.
that's where we but I do notice some serious difference in sound, and that's why each time from this point on, I now all our voices are actually all separated, so that way we can fine tune everything and equal it out in Audacity.
Right.
Nice.
So, for instance, if I'm mumbling, I'll at least sound the same as Daniel.
Ah!
Hey, thanks.
Well, no, I'm not saying you mumble. I'm just saying it because Daniel, you're very loud pitched. So if I'm for whatever reason winded or something and can't speak, which is already a bad reason to be doing a podcast episode, I'll still be at his same exact vocal level.
I see what you mean. I thought you were saying Daniel sounds like he's mumbling.
No, you do not mumble. No,
I didn't think so either. But
why would I? I'm not here to be a dick. The Wishmaster is, but no, okay.
Yeah, right.
So,
man.
Daniel, did you ever see movie number 2 where it becomes
Not all the way through.
it's sillier?
But I can say from what I've seen, I appreciate actually that they did add some new elements with the whole prison setting.
Prison setting, you have a thief, an unlikable guy who's getting preyed upon this time. Holly Fields has actually shown up at a few recent conventions in recent years, so that's been cool.
Yeah, she has. I haven't met her. Cool.
Despite not being filmed in Canada, she seems to be one of many Vancouver type talents, I think. So I think
Of course, the appearance by Tiny Lister, of course, delighted me. He shows up in such cornball movies.
Yeah, when I talked to Robert Lasardo at his convention, he said he was just the most kindest dude, just like everybody's had said about him in the past. Just he's this born again Christian guy who's just always been, a former wrestler, Zeus. He's used to getting recognized for his performances in, The Dark Knight, Austin Powers, and freaking Friday movies, for God's sake. So, just to see him in here around the same time at the height of his career when he's doing cameos and everything, and just like to say a rare good guy role. It's like, who is this guy who's taking over my prison? It's not cool. What do you do to that prisoner? How do you get impaled? How did he roll up into a ball of gore? And there are some cool deaths, and I think I like that about it too. It's just I love the 2 twins who are giving him trouble. One of them's boxing him while the other's talking shit to his face. Is like, that's awesome.
But I get the impression that sort of like with Leprechaun in a way, by the second movie, they were starting to realize what they were working with, and so they were trying to be less of a straight up scare fest and starting to get a bit more cornball with it.
Yeah, Devoff was happy of his work on it, but I can tell, Kurtzman was silent there. He's like, I got nothing nice to say. I will say I did like how Pierre David, the producer of the first one, I've already been a fan of his stuff because he worked on a few other movies that Robb definitely will recognize. The Dentist, 1 and 2, and The Nightcaller, which is a really good movie, and launched the career of future Die Hard 4 and the Wolverine 2 and 3 screenwriter Mark Bumbeck. So
yeah, as well as the Scanner movies, particularly the Scanner Cop movies.
Yeah, he did work on those, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
but I used to have a VHS copy of The Nightcaller, and it would show previews for some other movies he worked on. It's a shame that he's just gone back to just doing garbage for Lifetime. But he's just this Canadian, German, or something producer, and but yeah. So the same amount of efforts put into it, it just doesn't have the same budget. It's made for like $2 million, which is weird because I think, yeah, the first one was made for around that same amount, but I guess, I don't know, maybe some funding pulled out. Anyway, it was an HBO world premiere after some tough digging for reviews. And so that was the confusion, is like, it was intended for video, but you know, back in the 90s and 2000s, until at least 05, it was very common for HBO to be like, hey, you want to avoid the video store and just tape, you know, we're premiering all these movies before they come out. And this was one of those. It premiered in 99, 2 years after the first one. And I do have to say, I think it's just a lot of fun. I know Trinity Martin of Heavy Metal Maniacs and the band Zero Sum, who's a big Wishmaster fan, just told me he's seen the first two. He actually likes all of these, and that says a lot because he's not typically a fan of other schlocky, crappy, or so bad they're good movies. But yeah, for whatever reason, he just always liked just the wackiness of these, and he's a big Devoff fan in his own right. But I guess what could have been better, I guess they could have definitely gotten some other B-movie names. It just, I'm not saying it needs, the names they already have are pretty cool. This was definitely one of the first movies I saw Bokeem Woodbine in, my boy, my dude. And as the casino guard. But it could have definitely, it would have actually been funny if they, well, actually, technically Tony Todd died, but it would have been funny if some relative or something had recognized him or something. Hey, that's the dude who drowned my one dude. And so it is kind of wild how, I like how it's just a standalone thing. It doesn't have to do this whole, remember that one incident at that one party, no one really knows what happened. Some professor chanted a name, and it's like, it wouldn't make sense. It's Men in Black, you know. They basically did the equivalent of the Flashy thing, you know.
Right.
It never really
I got
happened.
a little more trivia for you guys if you want it. Did you know Andrew Devoff had to be briefly hospitalized during the course of this movie?
No. Well,
it was from wearing those gin contact lenses too long. So you know, they're supposed to only be on your eyes for so many hours. And Jack Shoulder apparently kept wanting to film longer, like make the most out of
so it definitely must have been
keep shooting this. So it got to this point where he's like, just one more take. Can we just do one more take? And he's like, no, I can't. And I guess Andrew just started ripping the makeup off his face, and his eye was just inflamed and pissed off. So if it had gone on longer, he could have lost one of his eyes, I guess. So he had to actually go to the hospital to.
And this is the same guy.
Got infected from wearing the special effects lenses too long.
I know he had a cancer scare around the time of Lost, and that's why he signed up for it. And he said in an interview he signed up for an indie insurance company, and he thanks them to death. No pun intended.
Yes.
But I do remember the first movie. To avoid his voice from going out, he couldn't eat long, and he couldn't get out of the makeup because he had to have all this heavy machinery that's making his horns move on his so it took
he couldn't eat solid foods because the food would get trapped between his actual lips and the character of the gin lips.
So
it would just be disgusting. So he was
5 hours all over again.
Whey protein shakes through a straw and eating like gummy bear type snacks, and it also.
That's what I read. Yeah, it was jelly beans, and it was like 5 hours to take it on, put it on. I don't know how much to get it off, but it's like, geez. So, definitely not a typical Star Trek or Babylon 5 ordeal. In and out. No, they had to make use of every day. Well, that is a bummer, but that's definitely more informative than what a Blu-ray commentary would provide.
For some reason, I got kicked out of the chat and then just got back in. But
I noticed that too. What the hell's going on?
Like I was just saying that I experienced that a little bit under full makeup for a movie, and I could only drink through a straw. So I was drinking beer over a course of 8 hours because I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't chew in that makeup. So I was just drinking. All we had on hand was beer, and I was using that to keep my energy up. So I kind of get where he's coming from. Where can only drink, protein shakes or something liquid.
And Daniel, you've done some plays. Have you ever had to do any kind of stage production where it was kind of like close to this, where it's like I gotta sit still?
Nowhere near. Like,
damn.
I mean, I've done like community theater, not anything professional grade where they took makeup.
Gotcha. Well, no, theater's a profession in its own right. I'm just saying, and just. But yeah, so you've never had to do anything extreme like this, where it's like, oh boy, what did I sign up for? So Rob, your impression on this? You've talked about the budget before, but I just like to get a sense of the movie.
I thought it was. I mean, I prefer the first one, but I like this one. It was a lot more wacky than the first one was. The first one seems to take itself very seriously. This one's like you said, seems to go for more like tongue in cheek kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely way high class than, say, it'll appeal to the same crowd as, say, Chucky or Leprechaun, but I think it's still a step above, say, Puppet Master even.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Not that that's hard to do. I'm just saying, it's just like, it's not self-indulgent. It just, again, it gets to the point. It doesn't treat you like an idiot. It's like, here's what you came here for. It keeps it mysterious, so that's why you kind of look forward to it. And the dark humor is still there, so I can see why. I will argue the dark humor is slightly better. That's all I'll give it. But
another thing, like Andrew Divoff's performance in it, like he's very jokey and tricksterish in this, whereas in this one,
he doesn't.
He seemed more suave and debonair, but in this one, he's got that crazy grin all the time.
I'm surprised.
I just ate a tiger steak grin.
The tiger grin. Oh my god! And the IMDb is crazy for this. How many people make great note of how he flat out does not blink for just minutes on end. How did he do that?
I'm thinking it's the contact lenses, because he wasn't even when he wasn't in that.
So he's pissed off, but he's forcing it in. It's like
he still had like deep blue contact lenses in. I think that's why he was able to not blink for long. But there's this great review. So I don't know if everyone's seen the review from brightwalldarkroom.com.
No.
The review's called "Actually, I Don't Have Any Friends."
Oh, and I have seen that. Yeah, I'm sure.
The guy loves Wishmaster 2 so much, but he talks about, trying to find this. I pulled it up here. Basically, so he talks about Andrew Divoff's crazy grins in this. And he's like, it seems like much of the screenplay calls for him to simply stand around awkwardly, grinning and saying things like, "Is that your wish?" Moreover, the director's instructions for Divoff seems to have been largely limited to, okay, let's have another weird, inappropriate grin here. But from these crude materials, Divoff creates a marvel of an unforgettably bizarre character. Divoff does for weird, inappropriate grinning what David Lean did for sweeping panoramic desert sequences. And
I remember that review. That dude got crazy.
I love that review. That's the funniest thing.
Did he get on acid when he wrote this review? Jesus. Okay.
I kind of agree with most of this review, though. It's good, but
now I want to know what. In fact, I want to know how many potheads have actually seen this movie while high. Because
I've seen it while high.
Okay, perfect. How was it?
It's pretty hilarious.
I'm like probably a little different. Like I thought it would be more hilarious while high, but I found it really heartbreaking while high.
Oh really? Oh damn!
And like this, I know.
Well, shit.
I was like taking it like way too seriously, but like normally I find it really hilarious. So it's like your mileage may vary.
Damn. So yeah, this didn't get reviewed by as many people. I've seen some go so far as to say this is the worst of the franchise. What the fuck were they on? What the fuck were they on? Not even close.
No.
Even if I take away my bias that this is my intro to this, just no. I mean,
it's not.
it's
No.
a clear as difference. There's a
Mhm.
huge ass difference. Someone legit knew what they were making, and they were going
Mhm.
for it. And so, aside from some awkward edits that were typical lower budgeted movies back in the '90s, and some overdone music cues, maybe even the Corey Haim cameo, that there's nothing that I would that I would say is just really intentionally bad or just Sharknado depths. No, fuck no.
Even then, I like Sharknado, like for real. But
Oh well, there's a Anthony C. Ferrenti connection there, so there you go. Someone,
yeah,
hey, you have him to thank for the makeup that fucked with D-Bombs. It's all right. Rob and I love Tu Lava Vantula, so
Yeah.
it's somehow in that same universe. So closing thoughts. A worthy, easily just as good, if not better, sequel. 4 out of 5 for me. It avoids being just a bad X-Files episode, or it brings more mischief to the franchise instead of just being, and despite a lot of slower moments, it still brings a lot, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't repeat the same thing again. They were clearly inspired, and despite this so-called troubled behind the scenes stuff that we just became knowledgeable of, I can't think of anything that's just like, yeah, they didn't even fucking try. No, they tried.
Yeah,
I thought it paid off. Erica, I'll let you do your final rating.
So I think the first movie I gave 3 out of 5. This one I'll do 3.5 out of 5.
Woo!
I actually enjoyed it a bit more than the first one. It just seemed, even though the budget wasn't there, and some of the the cameos weren't there, although they did have some good cast members. I enjoyed this more than the first one.
Woo! Rob, zombie Anticore.
I'm
a bastard.
Yeah. Obviously. Yeah. I'll go with 3 out of 5. I still prefer the first one, but this one was fun.
It definitely plays better than the other sequels around the same time. We got Candyman Free, we got Warlock Free, we got Leprechaun in the Hood.
Oh yeah.
Which this would actually be an interesting double feature with.
That actually might be the review.
So 3 out of 5 for me.
Daniel, from what you saw of it before you switch the channel.
I'm going to 2 out of 5, seriously.
No, all good. It just wasn't as fresh. All right. Woo! Okay, and so dare we go into the depths of hell?
Oh God.
Welcome to hell. We go into the Jinn relocates in a different form from a different diamond, which I don't even think is Egyptian, and he's takes over the form of a professor played by Sean Connery's son Jason, and AJ Cook post pre-Final Destination 2 plays the student who believes something is wrong with her professor in a lazy retread of movie number 1. The franchise goes full-blown Highlander here.
Yeah.
That's sword fight, man. That's sword fight.
Yes.
So I saw this on SyFy Channel, and this is again before I'm really assuming any real quality control in my life. And I waited to see some titties, and it was like, oh, that's right, it's SyFy Channel. I'm not gonna see shit. And so I've seen it a few different times. They have a boner for this movie. They would show it endless times at 4 a.m. It's just,
they did for a while.
I find it boring.
Probably it's cheap to get the rights to.
Yeah.
That's because it is fucking boring. I'm just gonna say
it is so fucking boring. But
yes,
I want to see a riff tracks of this so bad.
Yeah, I could dig that.
They could do it too. There's not, you take out those brief moments of sleaze, the rest of it is just a weird, gory mystery that doesn't make a lick of sense. I don't even know, what is it with the female demons scratching him? Where did that come from?
I don't know. So there's another backstory with this. So I mean, this is the first non-Devoff sequel, but originally he had planned to be in it, and he had even written a screenplay for it.
Yep.
And I guess his screenplay had a lot of really wild elements, like
The
gargoyles
apocalypse.
and swooping down off of buildings, and like whole buildings coming to life and walking around, and like just this crazy
too
kind of
ambitious for a
Y2K.
third.
Yeah, this Y2K thing, and the studio said we don't have the budget to pull this off, so they
Yes, they
rejected
did.
the script. Yeah,
I'm just
so
saying, yes, they did. They just, in their minds.
they just didn't want to give money to
And
do
it's
that.
stupid, too, because they didn't want to pay him as a writer, but it's like, but you're still paying Peter Atkins, the original creator.
Right.
Right.
What's wrong with that? And it's just like, they were better off just making a separate movie. Emmanuel Vaugier of CSI New York and Lost Girl fame, a similar show to Wishmaster if there was one, is in this. Her role just sucks. There's just nothing to it. And I get she's one of these Canadian actors who, again, you know, this is where it's shot around Vancouver, Toronto, and really the only thing impressive is that the director Chris Angel, no relation,
Yeah.
who previously did the sequel to Wes Craven's The Fear, which is also a bad movie, which I haven't seen, but many have told me it's not worth seeing, even if you're a completist of Cabin Fever home entertainment. So
They made a sequel to that?
Yeah, The Fear Resurrection. I've only seen the trailer, and I was just like, that is the most cheap looking guy in a suit made out of wood I've seen.
That's the first I ever fucking heard of that shit. I didn't even know that. I knew The Fear, but I didn't know they made a fucking sequel to it.
Well, so many people were bored by movie number one, so
Totally.
So long story short, this is definitely the worst in the franchise for me, in my opinion. I used to think movie 4 was worse. Nah, this one, it doesn't have anything going for it. It really doesn't. It's just like, have I seen it different times? Yes, because I love making fun of bad movies. So it's just like, but it's a rough set. It really is. You got to have either a bunch of people intoxicated to watch it with, or you got to just really just have a great sense of humor. Just be ready for doing a podcast or even. But yeah, I would love to see a riff of this. And ironically, I've only seen it incidentally a few other different times, just because I saw that it won an award for makeup, and I've seen every review vary on this. I think it's okay, especially the slicing off the face and putting it on the other guy's face. But yeah, the CGI, it would work if it was like a cheesy Hercules Xena type show, but for this, no, it just looks. Okay, so I'll pass it on the torch to whoever wants to keep it alight before dousing it with water.
Oh man,
Rob Zombie, go for it.
I saw this. Well, I don't even remember if I saw the whole thing. Because no,
so you
like,
didn't see the sword fight.
No, my father, he usually, from his job, he gets free movies, and he got this one.
Really?
Yeah, and
at a video store?
No, he from his job and shit. I guess they just had a shitload of DVDs they were giving away and shit. And he was just like, oh, whatever, And I saw this, and I was like, oh shit, they made another Wishmaster, and I'm like, oh great, and where the fuck is Andrew Devoff? As I'm watching
Around
it,
04, 05?
Yeah, and then
something was up.
Yeah, and then you go into it, and then it's like, oh no, please get the fuck out of here. No, sorry. So yeah, I'm like, who's this fucking guy that looks like discount Jameson Parker? And this, I didn't even know that I didn't even know until later that was fucking Jason Connery and shit. I'm like, what is this bullshit?
He's mostly
I'm
better. He's better known for starring in one of those Harry Palmer crappy sequels, being married to Mia Sarah, and being a voice actor. So
yeah.
Moving on.
Like, yeah. Fuck out of here. Get the shit out of the DVD player and shit. No more of this. So that was my experience with Wishmaster 3.
Yeah, for real.
I'm sorry.
I'm obviously not sorry because you hated it too.
Well, no, I just wanted to see you roasted like you typically do any movie.
No, it's a piece of shit. That's as far as the roast gonna get though. It's a fucking putrid piece of shit for the amount of time I saw it in. So I'm sorry we can't go into a more thorough roast, but you know that's
fuck it.
Yeah,
that's as good.
Real.
Now this is kind of a who's who of me for Stargate and Falling Skies. You got Sarah Carter from the Ladder as one of the students. She doesn't have anything to do. We have Tobias Meisler, who, yeah, that's right, the boy crush. It turns out to be an archangel. So yeah, it's kind of a prophecy ripoff if you think about it. He's the archangel, Gabriel being good. He just gets a sword out from nowhere and has trouble fighting him Highlander style. John Novick, who's also a voice actor and also been on all those Stargate shows, plays the Djinn. I can't judge his performance because I think the makeup is okay. It's just the voice. It's just like, it just sounds like a mix between someone doing Mario Kart or even freaking Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, it just seems like whoever did the voice of "Here comes Tiny," you know, doing an Arnold impression as the tiny character, and then he just let's talk about the orgasm scene. It's not an orgasm scene, but basically he just is like, I don't know what you're doing. What are you doing? Erica, how did you ride through this tunnel?
So yeah, setting aside, like, I'm a big Andrew Divoff fan, but yeah, like not holding a grudge against the movie for the fact that Andrew didn't return for this. It's still a really bad movie.
Yeah.
It's just people, running around campus, like from building to building. It's like, what the hell is this? You're just randomly running around this campus and there's not much happening. Like even with that, like the death scenes don't feel like as much of a payoff. Like,
yeah,
I like some of the concepts, like the woman who wants to lose weight. And
I don't even remember that, and I've seen it.
So yeah, there's like kind of an anorexic or bulimic woman who's really worried about her weight, and she just makes this vague ass wish to lose some weight. She doesn't specify how much or how she's going to lose it. She just wants to lose the weight. So she's like puking her guts out, literally. Like, I like the concept. It's a good concept, but I mean, the movie as a whole sucks so badly that these redeeming moments don't redeem it enough.
Very well said. You're going to be more interested in just, that's where someone got their start. Aaron Smolinski has appeared in all the Superman movies, playing different characters. He was a Canadian talent who was available. Daniela Gal, who plays a gal named Anne. I don't know who that was because you won't remember anything in this. She ironically has starred in the movie Ripper with AJ Cook and the other cheesy horror franchise called Cabin by the Lake. So, I really don't have anything else to say other than that. I think you should watch it if you just want. I didn't have any choice. I just vaguely remembered it on SyFy, and I went through all the movies again, and I was just like, I mean, you really can't go wrong because these come on Showtime and Skinemax and HBO all the time, as well as they're all on Tubi or Prime. So if you want to, have at it. But if you don't make it all the way, I can't blame you. It really is pretty boring before you get to the what the fuck moments that are amusing.
Yeah.
The trailer is ironically way better.
That's often the case, though. It seems like really terrible movies often have great trailers, and vice versa, too. Some really good movies have really crap trailers.
And I mean, the DVD just had me, because that was when it was a thing, and it just, it looked like a guy, it reminded me of all these other, again, I've mentioned all the other creature features and the people fighting in factories or something. It's like, okay, that looks cool. Giant, unstoppable creature fighting another hero with, various weapons in enclosed space. That's cool. But once again, it just doesn't pay off. It's just like,
no.
So Daniel, did you ever even bother with this, or did you just say nope?
I saw it on SyFy like you, and it's especially edited for network TV. It's just a painfully dull movie.
Yeah,
and
it's painfully dull either way.
Having seen it for free online, I don't know that I could do that now still, but yeah, you kind of just find yourself sitting there waiting for, okay, show me the tits.
right. Show me the gore of the
There's
tits
really
or
nothing worth
something.
waiting for.
I mean, they could have at least had some amusing camp, but yeah, I would say the only person who's good in this is AJ Cook. Nothing against Tobias. He just is undone by just no hinting whatsoever that he's an angel. And so the best thing I can say is the goofy sword fight. That's it. That's all I'm going to give it. So 2 out of 5 for the unintentionalness. Otherwise, it's Mr. Science Theaterville. Everyone else, I guess everyone else is going with a 0 or a 1.
I'm giving it a 1 out of 5. Like, really, the only reason to watch it is you're bored, or you're a completist for the Wishmaster franchise, or you're a completist for some particular actor's work, and you just want to see them, no matter what they're. That's really all I can think of for.
Watch it for the memes that are made about it.
Sure.
Part 4, I guess you can. Long story short, we pretty much just have the same gist of it. The Jen wants to fuck somebody.
Yeah. And it's also the weird titty edition of the franchise.
I will say it is cool seeing Steve and Izzy, Everything I Learned from Movies, have talked about this, and they would always joke because they're like, it became a who's who of Battlestar Galactica. They're like, I think I've seen this Michael Trucco guy before. And sure enough, yeah, it was a key role on Battlestar and Castle and all these other shows. But yeah, he's does really good as the Jinn in human form. He overacts. I recommend it for the gore and the sleaze, and the plot could have worked. I'll give it that. Yeah. It's just, once again, there's just some boring ass shit before you get to chapter 2 where everything is batshit bananas. No!
Right. Just thinking that too, like, it's been a few years since I've seen part 4 in this, but I actually liked some of the concepts in the story. The whole thing where
it's watchable.
The wish the main female character makes that, she wants him to love her or something. Well, I can't remember what it was, but it was.
She's not an idiot. I will say that. You see on the cover, you're like, oh shit, someone being victimized. That's gross. But it's like, no, it's a Lifetime movie with some
right. It's like there were some really good concepts with this. The production values weren't there. Sometimes the performances weren't there. But I think imagine if this script had been done on a bigger budget, preferably with Andrew Divoff, like this could have been a pretty cool movie.
Yeah. And what, he's been like married twice, I guess. He might have just snagged a few extra girlfriends on this movie. Yeah. I guess you can say these movies were both filmed side to side within 2 weeks of each other, so I'll give it that. They didn't have to worry about any continuity. Although it would have been probably better. I'm going to break my own rule. This would have been better had there been a to be continued. And just because there was just no life to part 3. And then you have part 4. There's lots of life, but there's also just lots of moments in between the wackiness and the potential of a decent story. So I'll give it a 3 out of 5 just because it's still in so bad it's good territory. Rob, I'm really going to let you take it over.
I think I only seen 5 minutes of this, so
that's the most boring moment. So yeah.
Yeah.
So just fast forward to all the other wackiness, just especially this. Look up on YouTube Wishmaster 4 fight scene. You'll just chuckle till the sun sets.
I think the Wish. I want to be a pimple on her ass.
Oh, that's right. That's gross, but that's the other thing. It's just there are a lot of creative deaths in this, so that's why I'm giving it credit. Yeah, Trucco does good. Jason Connery, let's just be honest, he's ripped to Sean Connery recently, but yeah, his acting wasn't there at all. But and with Trucco, he's already had been a pro Canadian American actor, and he hams it up while actually investing in it, being serious in the scenes where before his character's taken over by the djinn. So the other acting is serviceable. It's just like I say, it's a 2 a.m. kind of movie that you watch and you're like, okay, this is kind of funny.
Yeah. It's a decent movie to have on the background while you don't need to give it your full attention. You can just
and then you light up,
laugh at it. It's okay for that.
Exactly. And then when something blows up and you're like, whoa, I gotta go back there. What just happened? That's great. I gotta show this to everybody who likes direct video shit. Is there a final rating? I mean,
well, okay, for part 4, I don't think I gave my rating. I give part 4 2 out of 5.
Okay, perfect.
Slightly better than
That's totally it.
It's
not boring like part 3, but it is.
True.
It's still.
It's not great though. Yeah.
No. Whew. Daniel, did you even get through?
1 out of 5.
All good. I thought it was the worst of the franchise too. At first, but now I can't help. I just bad horror, bad action movies, that they are my thing at times. I just love making fun of them, and I don't think this is necessarily riffable as much, but it still is like, well, I'm out of bad movies to make fun of. I might as well take this one on. So where can we find you on My Horrific Life? Is that podcast still active?
So I have not done the podcast in quite a while, and that part of that was because my co-host took another job.
I have asked that
higher
before.
level job in a different state, and has not been available to podcast at all since then, which is super disappointing. So I have not, as an individual, gone back on the podcast wagon.
Yeah, aside from the blog. So they might have to just figure out some anchor.
So yeah, either I need to go solo or find another co-host who will be cool.
Well, you got options here. Rob, how's the Action Drunkies going? I've only last heard the Speed episode. I got to catch up.
Oh yeah, we just released a special episode reviewing Johnny Young Bosch from Power Rangers fame, his new short film Arc Exodus that came out Monday, and we have our Hard Target episode coming out.
It was 5 hours.
Yeah. It was really long and tedious to fucking edit, but Action Drunkies, of course. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, as well as my numerous writings as a Cinema Junkie on various websites, and you can find me on Twitter as a Cinema Junkie, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Woo. And Daniel, Nightmare Nerd.
As always, I am on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm a frequent guest on the House That Screams podcast. I'm writing for House of Tortured Souls, and also Behind the Screams are now taking articles from me. So, as always, eat, drink, and be scary and enjoy.
Oh yeah. Oh, so one of these days when COVID lets go, I'm gonna get back to designing that Wishmaster costume and give it what it deserves. But thank you all for being on here.
No problem.
We learned some unsung facts and.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up review show.